Today, I want to speak about a powerful truth, a truth that can shift the course of a life buried in silence and sorrow. And that truth is this: hope is the antidote to depression. Depression doesn't always scream. It often whispers. It steals your joy, clouds your clarity, and convinces you that things will never get better. It's the weight in your chest each morning. It's the tear that falls when no one is watching. But even in your darkest hour, there is something more powerful than despair: hope. Hope doesn't mean pretending everything's fine. It means believing that despite the pain, something good is still possible. It's the quiet voice that says, "Hold on, don't give up yet." No, hope doesn't erase the struggle, but it gives that struggle meaning. It helps you walk through the storm because it reminds you there is light ahead. Hope doesn't promise immediate healing, but it does give you a reason to breathe again, to try again, to wake up one more day. Maybe you're listening right now and barely holding on. If that's you, please hear this. There is no shame in feeling broken. There is no weakness in asking for help. And there is no ending so final that hope can't breathe new life into it. Hope begins in the smallest of moments. Talking to a friend, asking for help, choosing not to isolate, celebrating one small win today. Hope begins when you realize your story isn't over. Let it in. Even if it starts as a whisper, shaky and unsure. Because once hope speaks, depression begins to lose its grip. Depression thrives in silence. Hope breaks. That silence. Depression is often invisible. It doesn't always look like tears or breakdowns. It hides behind smiles, routines, and quiet withdrawal. Many who suffer the most are the ones who say the least. They carry an invisible weight no one else can see. And in that silence, depression gains its power. When pain is kept inside, the voices of shame, self-doubt, and hopelessness grow louder. You start to believe the lies. That you're alone. That no one would understand. That nothing will change. But that's exactly where depression thrives. In secrecy. In shame. In silence. Hope, real hope, speaks. It doesn't demand the spotlight. It gently whispers, "You don't have to carry this alone." Maybe someone reaches out with kindness. Maybe you read words that speak to your pain. Maybe you finally open up, and someone listens. That's hope, breaking through the silence. Hope might not shout, but it disrupts the quiet where depression lives. It interrupts the lie that you are alone. The moment you begin to speak to a friend, a therapist, a journal, or even to yourself, that's when hope begins to shine. That single act of expression, that first word, can be the start of a breakthrough. Silence may keep you trapped. But the moment you let hope speak, even in a whisper, you start reclaiming your voice, your worth, and your will to live. Hope doesn't deny pain. It helps you endure. Pain is real. It's raw. And when you're in the thick of it, it can feel like it's consuming everything. Your thoughts, your identity, your will. Depression isn't just sadness. It's a deep ache. A fog that clouds your mind. A numbness that makes even simple tasks feel impossible. In moments like these, telling someone to just stay positive is not only unhelpful, it's hurtful. This is where hope becomes powerful, not as a mask, not as denial, but as a companion, one that says, "Yes, this is hard. Yes, it hurts. But this is not the end." Hope doesn't ask you to smile through the pain. It sits with you in the darkness. It reminds you that the pain is real, but so is your strength. Hope is not about escaping the storm. It's about finding the strength to face it, to take one more step, to make one more call, to hold on for one more day. Real hope doesn't sugarcoat your suffering. It doesn't erase your scars. It doesn't rush your healing. It simply says, "This hurts, but I will not give up." Hope turns pain into purpose. It turns walls into doors. It may not remove the night, but it helps you hold on until morning. Even the smallest spark of hope can break the cycle of despair. Despair is a loop, a cycle of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors feeding into each other. It convinces you nothing will ever change, that nothing you do matters. That's what makes despair so powerful. It kills your will to try. But what despair fears most isn't a massive breakthrough. It fears a flicker, a whisper, a moment. Even the smallest spark of hope, the one that trembles in your chest, is enough to interrupt the spiral. That tiny pause, that single breath, can shift everything. You might reach out. You might cry instead of shutting down. You might stand when you feel like collapsing. Sometimes it's as simple as choosing to drink water, to take a shower, to get out of bed. Those small choices matter. They are the beginning of change. Because when hope enters, even in its tiniest form, despair starts to fade. It reminds you, healing is possible. Seeking help is an act of courage and hope. There's a dangerous belief in our culture that asking for help means you've failed, that you should be able to handle it alone. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Seeking help is strength. It's one of the bravest, most hopeful things a person can do. When depression convinces you that you're broken, that you're a burden, that no one cares, it takes immense courage to reach through that darkness and ask for support. But when you do, you're saying something powerful. My life matters. I deserve to heal. Whether it's a call to a friend, a conversation with a therapist, a message that says, "I'm not okay," that moment can change your life. We need to honor that courage. Because it is brave to say, "I need help." It's brave to begin healing, not knowing how long it will take, but deciding you're worth the effort. And every person who takes that step, they're pushing back against the shame and silence. Healing doesn't require a leap, just small steps forward. When you're deep in depression, progress can feel impossible. The road ahead looks too long, too steep, too uncertain. And in a world obsessed with fast results, it's easy to feel like you're failing if change doesn't happen overnight. But the truth is, real healing is slow. It's quiet. It begins with small, intentional steps, each one rooted in hope. You don't have to leap your way out of darkness. You walk. And on some days, you crawl. But every small act of care, getting out of bed, stepping outside, drinking water, writing your thoughts, each one is progress. Each one matters. And over time, each one adds up. Because that is how healing begins. One small, hope-filled step at a time. Your story isn't over. Hope is still writing. Sometimes, attending a single appointment or taking one deep breath during a breakdown is an act of quiet rebellion, a refusal to give in to despair. In the moment, these actions may feel insignificant, especially when depression whispers that they don't matter. But they do, because every small step sends a message to your soul. I am not giving up. And when you keep stringing those steps together, one after another, you begin to build something powerful. Momentum. Not fast, not flashy, but real and It's fueled by something deeper. Hope. The kind of hope that says, even if I don't feel better today, I believe I might someday. Hope gives meaning to the routine, to the repetition, to the hard choice to show up, again and again. You might not see the change right away. Progress may be invisible at first, but it's happening, quietly building resilience, gently restoring strength, slowly lifting you out of the place you once thought you'd never leave. And what's more, those steps are yours. No one else can define your pace. No one else can measure your journey. Healing doesn't follow a straight path, and it never looks the same for everyone. But every act of care, every boundary you set, every time you choose not to numb, not to isolate, that is progress. That is forward motion. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to feel ready. You just need one thing, a single small step, born from the quiet belief that maybe, just maybe, tomorrow could be lighter than today. When you're in a season of depression, it can feel like your story is over, or worse, like it never mattered at all. You look around and see everyone else moving forward, while you're stuck on the same painful page, reading the same lines of sorrow, doubt, and emptiness on repeat. It feels final, like there's nothing left to say, no next scene worth waiting for. But that's the illusion depression creates. It convinces you the story has ended, when in truth your story is still unfolding, moment by moment, breath by breath. Life is a book, rich, complex, filled with chapters. Some are joyful, full of laughter, love, and purpose. Others are painful, full of struggle, heartbreak, and uncertainty. And some are dark, so dark that you might be tempted to close the book completely. But here's what hope does. Hope reminds you, no chapter lasts forever. Even in your hardest season, hope nudges you to turn the page. Not because the next chapter will be perfect, but because it will be different. It may come slowly. It may take time. But it will come. And you owe it to yourself to see where your story leads, not in spite of the pain, but because of your courage to live through it. Hope is the quiet force that whispers, there is more. It doesn't erase your past or the pages filled with hurt, but it gives them context. It reminds you, this is not the end. This is part of the journey. Everyone who has survived darkness carries within them a story that can light the way for others. And often, it's the chapters that nearly broke you that become the most meaningful in the end. You may not know what the next page will bring, but you still have the power to turn it. You still have something to say. Something to give. To give.